Good evening, ladies and gentlemen. Let me introduce myself. My name is Eitan Neishlos. I'm the proud grandson of a woman named Tamara Zisserman, Zichona Livracha. I'm also director of the New South Wales Jewish Board of Deputies and chairman of Courage to Care, an organization very close to my heart and under the auspices of B'nai B'rith Australia. Why is it close to my heart? Because like many of you, my family suffered through the Holocaust. In my case, it was my grandmother, the late Tamara Zisserman. And it is because of her I am now, decades later, leading Courage to Care to create awareness of the dangers of prejudice, racism, and discrimination. But first of all, let me tell you my grandmother's story and the intertwined tale of three incredible, brave people now honored as righteous among the nations. Tamara Kantarovich was born on December 30th, 1929 in Minsk, Belarus, which, as you know, was part of the Soviet Union. In 1941, the Jewish people in Lahoysk were ordered by the Nazis to gather at the outskirts of the town and forced to dig a large mass grave. 2 days later, those same Jews were summoned to the freshly dug grave. Terrified, they were forced to undress. Heartlessly, they were shot dead in cold blood. Carelessly, their bodies were thrown into the graves en masse without any prayer or emotion. Indeed, it is still, to this day, so hard to comprehend what one group of human beings could do to another. You can only imagine how frightened my grandmother, then 11 years of age, was when her mother and grandmother, on a summer holiday in Lahoysk, were rounded up with other Jews while Tamara hid. But this is where our faith in humanity is renewed. Christian locals, Janina and Piotr Kodasevich, risked their own lives and that of their three small daughters, Tanya, Maya, and Vaya, to hide a weeping and terrified Tamara in their basement. My grandmother's mother and her parents went to the assembly point, and later it became known that they, along with other Jews, had been massacred. The Kodaseviches, at an incredible risk, hid Tamara and also helped the Soviet partisans. I wish I could tell you more. I wish with all my heart I could tell you how the incredibly brave Kodasevich family managed to hide my grandmother for so long, and how she managed to survive in a dark, dank basement. One can only imagine. But like millions of others around the world, this story is hard to tell, as telling it is reliving it. And both my late grandmother and my mother got incredibly distressed when they were pressed for details. And who can blame them, as the story does not have a happy ending. The Kodaseviches were eventually caught and murdered along with one of their toddler daughters for their role in the resistance. But in another incredible act of bravery and kindness, Pieter's mother, Antonia Kodasevich, gave Tamara refuge, despite what had happened to her own family. Tamara's luck soon ran out. In 1944, she was arrested by the Germans and taken to the Metgethen Nazi labor camp in Kannenberg, Prussia. A year later, at just 15, she bravely escaped with a few Soviet soldiers who were also imprisoned. The war ended, and like millions of other Jewish people, Tamara's life, free of death, fear, hate, and prejudice, seemed to just begin. Tamara was married a few years later and eventually gave birth to 2 children, one of whom is my mother, Hannah, and the second a son named Vladimir. In 1966, Janina, Piotr, and Antonia Kodasevich were all honored at Yad Vashem as righteous among the nations for their remarkable bravery in hiding and protecting my grandmother. I will never, ever forget what happened to my grandmother and to the millions of Jewish people during the Shoah. Stories like my grandmother's, and indeed of all my late grandparents, and no doubt many of yours as well, is why keeping history alive is so important. We must create awareness of the dangers of prejudice, racism, and discrimination, as every individual can and should make a difference to not only Australia, but to our world. My grandmother was one of the lucky ones. She passed away peacefully in Latvia in 2011 when she was 82 years of age. Thank you for allowing me to tell her story, which keeps her memory and considerable spirit alive. There are 27,712 righteous among the nations from 51 countries around the globe. These people risked their life and liberty to help Jews during the Holocaust. Many were killed because of their bravery. Tonight, I light this candle in their honor.